We are live.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
I forgot to switch the intro. Welcome everybody into the Fantasy Coaches. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. Guys, we are not talking about week 8 waiver wires. We are talking week 8 starts and sits, guys. Week 8 is finally here. We have the Bills and the Bucks tonight. Not the greatest game, but a lot of fantasy players that I'm sure all have in our fantasy teams currently right now. Let me introduce Coach John back in. What's going on, Coach John?
Nothing much. Excited to be here. Another beautiful Thursday. Get to hang out with you and all the listeners and, decipher through this week 8. A lot of people are in sort of do or die situations in their fantasy leagues, and this is an important week. I get it.
It sure is. It sure is. Again, I always like the Good Thursday episodes here because there's a lot of talk. And we have a lot to talk about today. So we're not going to waste any more time here. So let's get into fantasy news here. Some fun things going on, guys. Hello, Albert. Welcome back in.
What's up, Albert?
Some players who didn't practice on Thursday: Dave Montgomery, Jerome Ford, Daniel Jones, Luke Musgrave, Bob Woods, Deontay Johnson. That's very interesting, especially with the running backs here. I think we already thought Ford was out. Montgomery, I think we still assume that he's going to be out. But seeing Deontay Johnson pop up, definitely a little concerned with him, but hopefully he will practice tomorrow. Dawson Knox heads to the IR. Definitely not great. Deshaun Watson likely out for week 8. PJ Walker is to start. Some players who did practice today are Jimmy G, David Njoku, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Curtis Samuel, thank God, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, and I left off Miles Sanders. And, of course, Kyler Murray off the injury report, but it seems like he's still not going to play in week 8, but he is getting one step closer to getting back on the field, which is great here. Anything you want to mention here, John?
No, the Deontay Johnson one, I mean, we could talk about a whole bunch of these a ton, but the Deontay Johnson one was a bit of a surprise. Getting added to the injury report midweek after coming off IR, never a great sign. So just eyes out for that one. Just that one could be bad. Not bad, but bad that he could have lingering things for, the next couple weeks and not great.
Right, exactly. Zabby said, this is a good place to flex about my stack team. Absolutely.
Yes.
Always a good place.
Always
a good place. Yes.
Love victory laps.
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, that's the news, guys. Again, we'll know more as the week goes on. Friday is the determining day for a lot of injury things, but we'll get right into the games because we have no one on bye this week. We are playing all 15 matchups besides tonight we're going to talk about here. So we're going to get right heading started here. Los Angeles Rams, Dallas Cowboys, 1:00 game here. And I think the biggest question is whether or not is Darrell Henderson a start this week?
I think he is. It's obviously not a great matchup. The Dallas Cowboys defense historically pretty good against the run, pretty good at getting into the backfield quickly. But I do think, the snap share and carries. Royce Freeman got his, but Darrell Henderson was really the sort of focal point in that offense. And so I think you can play him. The running backs for Sean McVay tend to do pretty good. So, I don't think it's going to be a big game from him. I wouldn't expect a lot, but he absolutely is in consideration as a low end RB2.
Yes, I agree that he's in that low end RB2, RB3 range for me personally. You can definitely start him. It might not be the prettiest finish at the end of the day, but he should get enough work in this offense, whether it's on the ground or in the air. I mean, Sean McVay I think he really does like this guy, even though he continues to cut him from the team the last few years. But he seems to have the trust of Sean McVay, and that is something that is very hard to get for a lot of fantasy players. So as long as he has that, he is a start this week in fantasy, even though it's a tougher matchup. Some other good starts: Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. Some sits: Matthew Stafford, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee. Again, Royce Freeman, probably not much of a start in normal 12-man leagues, but maybe in deep man leagues, there's something there. But again, probably not the biggest start with everyone playing this week. But how about Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks? Are they any consideration to be flex worthy this week? Are they kind of bench players in this week's matchups?
I mean, you can absolutely take a stab at Michael Gallup. At this point, out of the two, that's the one I would consider. I don't know what's left in the tank for Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup has looked, relatively decent in the past few weeks before the bye. But I'm not, with everybody with no bye weeks and stuff like that. I don't know if you really need either one of these guys this week. So I'm not like forcing them into my lineup. The matchup against the Rams isn't awesome.
No,
and I don't love the way Dak has been playing lately. He hasn't really been able to, sustain, production from Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb. I can't then also expect him to, hold up a third receiving option. So I'm okay if you want to take the week off with these guys.
Yeah, no, neither one of these guys are really anything to brag about. I have them, I think, both at like low end wide receiver 5s, and at that point, you're looking for desperate plays. But in a non-bye week, yeah, they're likely sits, but people might be asking and wondering what they should do with them this week. Zabby does have a question in here: 12-man half-point PPR, 6-1. He has Jalen Hurts, CMC, Breece Hall, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews. That is a stacked team, and he wants to know for his flex. Who does he flex? Zay Flowers, Gus Edwards, Kareem Hunt, Drake London, or T. Higgins this week? So which one of these would you flex?
Well, you're making my team look like crap. Thanks. I would say probably Kareem Hunt. You could give consideration to Zay Flowers. You could give consideration to Drake London. But I just think, with Jerome Ford out of the way, Kareem Hunt is going to get a guaranteed volume of work, and he does have touchdown upside. So, PJ Walker, they're not going to have him throw the ball all over the yard. So I think Kareem Hunt is a totally solid play this week. And again, with all your other superstars going, you don't really need like a massive swing at your flex play. So I'm totally fine with Kareem Hunt. Take the guaranteed volume, take the guaranteed points. Hope he gets in the end zone once, maybe twice, and you're totally thrilled.
Yeah, that's a good one. I prefer Zay Flowers personally, just in the half-point PPR settings. Cardinals are really bad against wide receivers this year, so I think I like him. But Kareem Hunt's not a bad option either.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kevin Slater here. Nice name. Full-point PPR, 2 flex. I'm 2-5. He's got T-Law, Jonathan Taylor, Jacobs, Madison, Roschon, Brian Robinson, Hill, Williams, and Laporta. I have an offer for Josh Jacobs, for Ramondre Steven, and DeAndre Hopkins. Do I want to take that?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because honestly, I don't see.
You're not getting an upgrade anywhere.
You're not getting yeah, exactly. You're not really. I don't see DeAndre Hopkins really breaking into your lineup, anytime soon. And so you're downgrading Jacobs for Ramondre to get some sketchy depth at wide receiver. The conversation around the Titans right now is, do they start selling pieces off? And so I don't know if I really want, and they have Will Levis back there. They could have Malik Willis. Who knows what's going to happen at quarterback? It's just going to be a rough ride for Tennessee Titans the next, 8-10 weeks, whatever the rest is left of the season. So I would not be jumping at that and I think honestly Josh Jacobs is getting plenty of volume, is just not looking as good as he did last year, which is hard to do because he led the league in rushing, but volume's there. He's good. It's just a matter of time before he starts to string together some good games.
Yeah, no, neither players really would enter the starting lineup for me personally, and I don't think Hopkins takes that notion over the guys you have right now. I'd still rather start the upside of everyone else in fantasy. If you're making an offer to get rid of Josh Jacobs, you need an upside play, and neither Ramondre or DeAndre Hopkins offers any upside for your fantasy team right now. So that would be a no for me too. All right, going over to the next game here now. Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Do we trust any of the running backs in this game here? And we're talking about Alexander Mattison, Cam Akers, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Are they really that trustworthy as RB2s, or are they more like risky flex options for you this week, John?
I think, honestly, every running back in this game is a risky flex option. I have so many, and it stinks because I have so many people who are like, oh, do I start? Alexander Mattison is one of the biggest start-sit questions to me that I get, that I've been getting all week. And I don't know. I don't know what this, Cam Akers got the work last week. I don't think that they're really in love with Alexander Madison. I think it could be a 50-50 committee, and neither one is going to be hyper productive. So, and ultimately Kirk Cousins is just going to throw the ball whenever he gets in trouble. So I don't love it. And then the Jones Dillon, neither one has been very effective. Dillon has looked better of late, but it's just kind of been on the back of a touchdown and maybe one or two big plays. They're both still kind of underwhelming. I don't love any of them, but I understand that if you're in a bind at running back, you all of these guys are sort of low end twos to me, high end running back threes. So if you're in a bind at running back and you need to put someone in there, like for sure. I mean, Aaron Jones is fine. AJ Dillon's fine. All these guys are probably going to get 8 to 12 points. It's just I'm losing faith in any sort of upside for all four of these guys.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat too. I don't really want to start any of them. It seems like it's turning into a real split backfield for both sides here, that neither one is really producing all that much. Like, this is a game where you might want to lean on Madison a little bit more in that run game. But in the same sense, if they fall behind, the Vikings abandon the run. The Packers continue to run the ball, but they're not really effective with the run this year. Again, and Madison would probably be the best guy I'd want to start out of these bunch, because I still have faith that he's going to see the early down work at least to start the game. But like, no one in this field are very comfortable to trust unless you're struggling at your flex option this week in fantasy. We have a question in the chat from a Fizz. What wide receiver do you think I can get in a Josh Jacobs Hopkins trade? So I'm guessing you're trading both those players for wide receiver. That is an interesting question there for sure.
I mean, you're basically, you're given volume, like you're giving up volume, which is fine. I mean, you could go after. I mean, I think you'd have to go after a top 20 kind of wide receiver at that point, because Jacobs is, in my mind, still a pretty valuable piece. Hopkins is a good little throw in to get you over the top. But I think Josh Jacobs is probably worth, in redraft. I don't know. I'm trying to even think. Would you
I think some players that you could get are like maybe a Devonta Smith, maybe a Michael Pittman.
Would you do what about Jalen Waddle? Would you do a Jalen Waddle?
I think I would. I don't know if anyone would do that, but yeah, that would be a good one. I'm looking at wide receivers who are kind of struggling, which I guess he is struggling now.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle definitely hasn't performed to his peak. I mean, listen, you could get Hollywood Brown with the hope that Kyler Murray coming back adds a ton of pizzazz to that.
He was a wide receiver one when Murray was on the field. Yeah, Debo, if your team is looking good and you want a long-term wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, somewhere around those lines, you might be able to get away with it. Maybe DK Metcalf right now, he is playing in full, so his injury doesn't seem to be a big concern. But some of those guys who had early season ranking that have kind of been mediocre this year that I think could still bounce back, could probably get the trade done.
Yep.
All right. To continue this game here, some good other starts, obviously, is Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, I think Romeo Doubs. Some sits, KJ Osborne, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave. I think he's hurt. He might not even play, so it would be probably Tyler Kraft as the starting tight end. Mm-hmm. Christian Watson, are you okay with starting him, even though he's kind of dealing with an injury?
Yeah, if he plays, I think you can. Minnesota Vikings secondary is not scary at all, and Christian Watson is the type of player that all it takes is one or two plays and he makes the day. So if he's active, I'm okay playing him, flexing him. That's fine.
I agree too.
TJ Hawkinson is the one that I would just keep an eye on. He was kind of out of the game for a little bit last game, got banged up. There could be some injury things there, so just keep an eye on Hawk. But other than that, this is kind of a, start your Vikings and maybe start some Packers. That's kind of how I feel.
I like it. All right, over to the next game here, the Atlanta Falcons and Tennessee Titans. Question of the game here. Any Titans pass catcher startable? I think we've already discussed that. That is not an option for us in fantasy week. Sit all Titans pass catchers with Will Levis at quarterback this week. So good. That was an easy one. Some starts there. Some starts there. We have Derrick Henry, Bijan, and Drake London. That's really about all a must start. You're obviously sitting Will Levis if Treylon Burks comes back, Chico Conqua. What about the Falcons tight ends? You okay with either one starting as a tight end one for you this week?
Yeah, I think you can. It's crazy that, I thought Jonnu Smith was just going to be like an annoying, like thorn in the side of Kyle Pitts, but he has outsnapped him at this point. He's getting more targets than him at this point. It's almost the other way around where Kyle Pitts is sort of holding back Jonnu Smith.
Kind of.
It's crazy. So I think you can start either one. Jonnu's getting the volume, and Kyle Pitts again is just you're gonna keep beating your head against the wall just because of how talented he is. But it's not pretty. It's not pretty with either one. I would rather grab a Logan Thomas off the waiver wire than play either Falcons tight end.
All right, I respect it. Desmond Ridder, again, he's got a great matchup, but him on the road is just really, really hard to trust in super flex leagues this week. But if you want to take a stab at Ridder, I mean, it's a decent matchup for him. I think Tajay Spears, Tyler Algier, both kind of just like, you're not really starting them this week, but don't be surprised if one of them ends up having a decent outing. That's kind of what I see in both these guys. Like, it's just like, you're not really going to start them as a flex, but like, they're just kind of an annoyance to their team right now. And like, neither one has a fantastic matchup. So,
yeah. Yep.
All right. Over to the next game here. The Saints and the Colts here. Question of the game: is Jamal Williams a good flex?
Sure. Jamal Williams. For some reason, I was reading that as Jameson Williams. Jamal can Jamal Williams be a flex? That is a good question.
Terrible against the run this year.
Yeah, that is the only reason why I would be willing to, is because of how good the matchup is. But I mean, the Saints have been throwing the ball, and when it is, it hasn't been great for Jamal Williams when he does get in there. He was very effective last year on touchdowns and volume. He's not getting either one of those this year. So
Colts have given up 10 rushing touchdowns this year already.
Yeah, I mean,
they gave up a lot of rushing.
This is the week. This is the week. If you're going to bet on a Jamal Williams touchdown, this is the week to bet on it. So I'm not mad at anybody if you're going to flex him. But yeah, if he doesn't pull through for you at this point, then I don't know when you can ever kind of trust him again going forward. So either trade high and sell high on the hope that maybe he does bounce back against the Colts and see what you can get, or play him this week and just hope for the best. But it's not, I don't know. I think we all expected way more out of this backfield with a healthy Jamal and a healthy Alvin Kamara, and in general, the offense just hasn't clicked. The Saints offense hasn't looked awesome for a couple weeks now. So maybe they figure it out against the Colts. The Colts defense is abysmal. So that usually helps when you're struggling on offense to go against a pretty bad defense. So we'll see. We'll absolutely see. I guess you can flex Jamal. I would honestly put him in a similar category as we just talked about all those running backs in the Vikings and Packers game. Similar, like you're hoping for a touchdown. It's, a low end RB2, high end RB3 kind of play.
Okay. I don't hate it. Some other good starts, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Chris Olave. I think you can start Michael Thomas at this point. It's not pretty, but it's a safe play. Josh Downs is probably the one I want to start in the Colts wide receiver core this week. Yep. Fantastic matchup in the slot. Some sits. Gardner Minshew is like a boomer bust quarterback, but this is not the best matchup. Derek Carr has been kind of mediocre. That in a 1 QB league, you don't want to start these guys. They're better superflex quarterbacks. Alec Pierce, no. All tight ends. I really don't want to start any tight ends in any matchup here. I think we can probably say Zach Moss is kind of on the same page for Jamal Williams. Kind of like he needs a touchdown to probably survive, unless they continue to do this split. You okay starting Michael Pittman? You're fine with that as a flex? I'm not really comfortable personally.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough matchup against the New Orleans Saints, but it was a tough matchup against the Browns last week, and he pulled through. I think Gardner Minshew, we talked about it when he took over. He's a gunslinger. He will just rip the ball. So Michael Pittman could see 8 to 10 targets, and that's hard to find and replicate off the waiver wire or somewhere else. So I'm okay with it. I'm certainly okay with it. I'm not expecting big games out of Pittman against the Saints, but if you have him and you were kind of riding the high of the past couple weeks, I think you can stay in it and flex him again this week.
All right, I like it. Yeah, I'm a little concerned with him playing Marshawn Lattimore this week on the outside. So, Rashard Rashid's kind of more of a boom or bust. Probably not as much start worthy enough when everyone's playing this week here, unfortunately. But I just wanted to mention him. Taysom Hill, you could throw him out there and hope for the best. I mean, he's looking good the last 2 weeks. Like, he's got 15 receptions, most in his span of his career. Again, if you're willing to throw him out there, you're willing to take that boom bust risk with him. That's about all I can say about that. So
100%. And we talked about it on the waiver show. You know, he's actually being used as a tight end, which is strange because he's always been used as like everything but. But the past couple of weeks, they've actually used him as a tight end. He's catching the ball. And so that's always a good sign. That's your floor there. And then if he gets in there as a quarterback and rushes one in, you're like, all right, great. This is just
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, this is just bonus at this point. So, you know, at the tight end position, it's hard to find guys who can get you as many points as Taysom Hill could potentially get you.
Right. All right. Over to the next game, Patriots, Dolphins here. Who do you trust more, the Miami Dolphins rebounding or the Patriots continuing their offensive success from last week?
So I'll give you my level-headed football take, and then I'll give you my homer take. The level-headed football take is Miami's going to beat the bag out of New England. What a great game that New England had to beat the Bills, but it's, you know, whatever, flash in the pan. The homer take in me is, I don't know, man. Miami struggles sometimes against Bills, so it could happen, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening, but I also didn't see them beating the Bills last week, so no, I think Miami should be able to handle this one.
Yeah, there wasn't really a good fantasy question in this one. It was just an overall question. But
yeah, good question, I enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Miami is destined to bounce back here. But again, it's also in Miami, thankfully, I would have a little bit more concern.
Yeah, in New England would be a different story.
Exactly. Ramondre Stevenson, he was a good start last time against the Dolphins. I'll put him back there again. Raheem Mostert, as long as he's healthy, he's good. Kendrick Bourne has been just playing well enough that he's good enough to flex. Hill and Waddle, you obviously play. Sitting Mac Jones, he's terrible on the road over his career. Not a good road quarterback. Zeke Elliott, I'm not trusting the touchdowns. I'm not really trusting any other New England Patriot in this game. Durham Smite, no. Tua doesn't really do well against the Patriots, and he didn't really do well last time. So I'm slightly concerned to want to start Tua in a one quarterback league. There's bust potential for him this week here. Jeff Wilson, I don't really want to play him unless Raheem Mostert is out. But what about Hunter Henry, John? He has not looked good since the Dolphins game in week 2 because he had a big game against the Dolphins last time. But since then, he has done absolutely nothing. Are you going back to him this week as a potential tight end, or you would prefer just to not deal with the recent bad success?
I mean, I would rather not. I don't think Hunter Henry really is.
He's losing his snaps.
Yeah, I just, I think the early start to the season was a bit of a surprise. And now that we're further into the season, we're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense that it was a surprise because nobody expected it. And he's kind of fallen back to earth. And Hunter Henry, he is who he is. I mean, he's a fine NFL tight end, but I don't know if he's, especially in this New England offense, I don't know if he'll ever elevate into like a weekly stardom tight end kind of guy. He's, I don't know, Gerald Everett kind of esque. Like you can throw him in there. You hope he gets 5 receptions for 36 yards and a score, or 40 yards and a score. It's like, sure. Again, back to my point. I would rather Logan Thomas off the waiver wire. Like that's kind of I use Logan Thomas as like my barometer of like if I should start you or not.
I love it. All right, over to the next game here. Again, I don't really have a good question for this one either. Who wins the MetLife rivalry? Who wins?
Wow. You know what's crazy? I think the Giants have a better chance if Tyrod plays. And we might be. And he is playing? Okay, yeah.
I think he's going to play. It's not affirmed yet, but I think he will.
Yeah, so if Tyrod's playing, I don't hate the Giants. I mean, they've, looked somewhat competent. They looked as competent as they have on offense. They're starting to get Jalen Hyatt sort of cooking. We had Darren Waller had a decent game last week. So Saquon Barkley's back to healthy, looks like his old self. Jets defense is tough, but then again, I don't know if the New York Jets offense can, score a lot of points. This is probably going to be a pretty low scoring, 21-17 type game. And I don't know. I think I weirdly like the Giants in this one.
All right, I respect it. I'm probably gonna go with the Jets. I think defense and their run game ends up winning the game for them at the end of the day. So, And speaking of that, some starts in this game here: Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Garrett Wilson, Darren Waller. That's really the only ones I'm considering starting. Sitting Zach Wilson, sitting Dalvin Cook, who's really upset with his role. Michael Carter, all the other Jets: Wanda Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slay, whatever you want to put in there. Can't really trust any of these wide receivers who have none has scored over 10 fantasy points this season. Tyrod, can we kind of mention he's maybe a decent QB2 in Superflex leagues, but not the best. But again, there's a lot of not a good. Like looking at the bottom tier quarterbacks, it's not really nice looking down there. When I'm doing my rankings, I'm like I don't really like anyone here. But Tyrod sticks out a little bit. Tyler Conklin, streaming tight end. Would you rather have Logan Thomas or Tyler Conklin?
Logan Thomas. That's Logan a good. Thomas. That's it. That's the barometer. Yeah,
that's an easy one. I like it. All right, next game: Jacksonville Jaguars, Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you start Calvin Ridley? Is he still a risky flex play?
Oh my God!
Is he a risky flex play? Would you?
He's a risky flex play. Yeah, I think you can start him. Probably should start him, but he is the risk is real, man. I mean, the floor. There is a legitimate, 2-point floor with Calvin Ridley. He could go, one catch for 22 yards. Like that's a possibility. But I'm still willing to flex him at this point. I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. I think Calvin Ridley's a good wide receiver. I think, the first game or two when he came out looking like gangbusters, it was kind of a shock. I didn't expect it after taking a year and change off of football. And so, I think conditioning and football shape and not playing the sport for a while, being in your late 20s, it catches up to you mid-season, but he's still very talented. He's still quick off the line of scrimmage. He's just not 26-year-old Calvin Ridley anymore. So I'm willing to flex him for sure. I'm willing to flex him. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a good defense, but their secondary doesn't terrify me. It's their front seven and their pass rush that scares me.
Yeah, I respect it. Yeah, I think Ridley, you have to continue to give him an opportunity because their secondary is not the best. So you have to at least throw him out there unless you have a better, more consistent, safe options. I mean, and as a flex play, he's kind of turned into like a Gabriel Davis type of level, boom bust, and hopefully that this is the week where he gets back on track for us in fantasy. Question from Albert: would you guys start James Cook or Ramondre Stevenson this week? Obviously, Cook plays tonight. Ramondre plays on Sunday against the Dolphins. I'm starting Ramondre Stevenson tonight, personally.
Yeah, I probably would too. I don't love
defense. Haven't allowed a rushing touchdown this year.
Yeah, I'm good with Ramondre Stevenson. I think that'll be. I don't love Thursday night games. They're usually pretty sporadic, low scoring. So, and James Cook, honestly, is like we talked about it on Monday. Lat Murray is getting in there on some, high pressure,
important drives,
and getting James Cook off the field. James Cook he's a talented player. He's always a threat to rip one from 40 yards out, but he hasn't done it yet. And so I'm not going to hold my breath that it happens this week.
All right. I respect it. Another question. Hey guys, how do you guys feel about Dak Prescott being my starter if Brock Purdy can't play?
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Yeah. It's good. It's good trade. It's good trade-off. I would assume Brock is not going to play. It kind of seems not.
It doesn't seem like that. He's fine. He's a high-end QB2. I think he's okay. He's not the greatest. I wouldn't expect major upside, but he's fine. I mean, the matchup's okay. It's not the best matchup, but it's, if he can get some rushing going, that would be great for his game this week against the Rams. But he's fine. He's fine. He's not like, again, I'm not thrilled about Prescott personally, but he's a fine startable quarterback, especially if Brock can't play. So. All right. Some other good starts: Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson if he plays. Of course, Connor Haywood has a really good matchup, but I don't really trust him in terms of playing him yet. The backup for the Titans until maybe we see it after that, right? So show it again, and then maybe I'll start trusting you a little bit to put you on the line at least. So, but one more game, he's a sit. Are you good with both Harris and Warren as flex plays?
Yeah.
Are they in that? Are they? I think they're in that Madison Jones range. I think, right?
Same exact. Yeah, it's the same. It's so crazy, and me and you and Jibs talked about it in this offseason that the NFL over the past sort of 3-4 years has definitely downshifted away from just this one workhorse 3-down back. And we're going to see a lot of this, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, like a lot of these, like just committees. It's just, that's the way NFL teams are going to operate. I mean, even Atlanta Falcons with a talent as good as Bijan Robinson, they're still, trotting Cordero Patterson and Tyler Algier out there. I mean, teams are smart. They just don't want to give one guy 400 touches. It's unless you're Christian McCaffrey, then for some reason they'll do it for him, but for everybody else, they won't. And so I think, Harris and Warren. So with that being said, you have to find guys that are explosive at that point. And neither one of these guys are super explosive, but they're fine, solid volume. Both will probably get 12 touches, and you're hoping for a score.
Yeah, I think you can kind of go down that road. I think they're RB3s. Harris probably will need a touchdown to be successful. Warren saw his fewest the fewest touches this coming week here since week 1. He needs to get the passing volume, and this is a good matchup if he gets the passing volume because the Rams have not been able to stop pass catching backs, but it's in terms of he needs a usage to actually get there. So both these are RB3s. They're decent flex plays, not the best, but decent enough. So before we keep going, though, I want to quickly mention a little new promo that I have out there that I'm on right now with Player Parlay.
Yeah.
They just reached out to me. They're a cool new DFS sports betting website that they've given me a free promo code. So if you guys use the promo code Coach Steve, they'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit, and you get $5 for free. So I started playing with it. I'm going to use it tonight. It looks pretty cool so far. It's their website. So Parlay Play. So check it out, guys. Use the promo code Coach Steve. And I'd appreciate that, guys. We'd really appreciate that. So I just want to throw my little ad out there. But now we're back talking.
Get the plug in.
There's the plug in. Now we're back to the real fantasy stuff here. All right. Next game here. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Is Devonta Smith still a must start? He's got one game over the last 5 weeks, over 10 fantasy points. And that was against the Commanders.
Yeah, it's funny. I
Is
always
he fall into that risky flex option compared to being a good wide receiver too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a little bit better than a risky flex. Like he's a little bit more better of an option than like a Calvin Ridley in my mind, just because I like the Philadelphia Eagles offense, to score a lot of points. But yeah, he's definitely not a must start. Like, the term must start to me is like, you got to be like a no-brainer to leave in your lineup. Devonta Smith, you got to look at matchups. You got to look at sort of over-unders and all these things. And, I do like the matchup against the Washington Commanders. He obviously earlier this year looked pretty good against them. So I'm okay starting him. I'm okay playing him as a wide receiver 3 this week. But yeah, I don't think he's in that must start territory really.
Yeah, I'm losing confidence in Devonta Smith. And it's not him. It's obviously just the way the offense is going right now. Like I said, he's still a flex option for me, but it's definitely concerning that he's just being the third option in this offense, and that's not what we want from him. It's not how he was drafted this year. So Dylan's got a question, guys. What's up, boys? Are we starting Kareem Hunt, Joe Mixon, or James Cook tonight, full point PPR?
I'm probably
lean Hunt on this one personally.
Yeah, I'm between Mixon and Hunt in my mind. And honestly, the only reason why I would even say Mixon is just name value, but that's purely just bias, history biasy of being like, oh, Mixon is, must start. But I think you can absolutely, without Jerome Ford, I think you can absolutely make a case for Kareem Hunt this week.
Yeah, I'd pick Kareem Hunt if he obviously doesn't play because he is limited this week. I would then go Joe Mixon. I really off James Cook this week. Back to the game here. It's good starts. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Terry McLaurin. I'm personally sitting Sam Howell this week. I'm concerned that this Eagles defense has gotten better since the last time they played, and it's not going to be a 20-point game, I don't think, from Sam Howell, which I wish. I'm very upsetting because I do like Sam Howell. Jahan Dotson, not really trusting. Fernando's got a question. What up, guys? Got a question. Got Rashard White and Aaron Jones. Should I start White tonight and sit Aaron Jones? Non-PPR. Yes.
Yeah.
That's my answer. Yes,
absolutely. Start Rashad White today and sit Aaron Jones. Yeah, I would.
He's seeing the usage.
Yep. I think they're both similar sort of plays right now, but Rashad White is getting more volume, more usage. He's on the field more, so more opportunities to score touchdowns. And that's what you're hoping for out of either one of these guys. I don't think either one of these guys are really going to eclipse 100 yards anytime soon. So, it's who's going to get in the end zone. And I think Rashad White has a better chance of getting in the end zone than Aaron Jones.
Right. And the Bills are really bad now against running backs. They've allowed a lot of rushing yards. So I'm going to take that advantage. I think he brought up my other running back is Kenneth Walker, because probably if you don't start Rashard White tonight, he doesn't have Aaron Jones for Sunday. So definitely start Rashard White. And then obviously if you have to move off to Kenneth Walker, because I think he missed practice today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. I didn't see today because I think Seattle, West Coast, it usually
we might not have found out yet. But go Rashard White on that one. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. I think they're just kind of, risky flex options for running backs.
Yeah, I mean, you could start Robinson if you had to. I wouldn't touch Antonio Gibson.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
And then, but yeah, Robinson, if you had to, if you're kind of hurting at running back, he's a RB3 volume kind of play for you right now.
Yeah. Curtis Samuel, like I said, he's been doing. Oh, thanks for the sub. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Curtis Samuel, I've been liking Curtis Samuel, but he definitely coming off a bad game here. Hopefully he can kind of rebound this week here. I do still like him as a risky flex play. Obviously, we know Sean loves Logan Thomas as the borderline of starting tight ends, and he's a fine streaming tight end. You can start this week. He's perfectly fine. I have no issues with starting him at all. So,
yep.
All right, over to the next game here. Houston Texans and Carolina Panthers, the battle of the number 1 and number 2 picks in the NFL draft this year. But are we going back to Tank Dell? Coming off injury, bye week, do we go back to him as a play this week?
I mean, I think so. Concussion, it was a concussion issue that kept him off the field. So you had the bye week to get 100% healthy. He showed in, 2-3 weeks there early on that he can be explosive. CJ Stroud is throwing the ball at a crazy rate. I think Tank Dell is absolutely in play. I'm actually strangely interested in this game. I think I just want to watch these two quarterbacks kind of go at it.
Especially coming off 5 weeks, both of them.
Yeah, I'm. This game to me is one of those games that, you look through the Sunday slate, you'll skip right over this game. But come Monday, we might look back at this game and go, "Wow, that was it's pretty good." Or it told us a lot. It told us a lot about Bryce Young. That's what in my mind. That's what's going to happen. Either this is going to be a good game, and you're like, "Oh wow," we see flashes from both guys, or Bryce Young continues to really struggle and look bad, and then the gap between that number 1 pick and number 2 pick is, not so hot.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I said Tank Dell's a fine option. I think him coming back with no Bob Woods could potentially see him in the slot or on the outside, wherever they want to put Noah Brown out, to be honest, which he plays a lot of the slot. Having no Bob Woods, because Bob Woods was a guy who's seen 6 or 8 targets per game, that's going to give Tank Dell an opportunity to see those targets instead. So I do like him back in lineups because the Panthers secondary has been killed with injuries this last month. So I do like Tank Dell. CJ Stroud, I put Tank Dell in 2 spots because I meant to put Nico Collins in there, not
in the
Tank
start.
Dell.
Yeah.
In the start spot. Adam Thielen, you got to start him. He's just playing way too good. Dalton Schultz, he's a good tight end. You sit Bryce Young, Noah Brown, Jonathan Mingo, DJ Shark, Hayden Hurst, basically all the Panthers. This one's interesting because these running backs here, this one's tough because both matchups for the running backs are pretty solid, and it's really, really good for the Texans. But are you trusting Dameon Pierce? Like, how do you feel about the situation with two starting running backs whose backups outperformed them or performed well the last time these guys were on the field?
I have more confidence that Miles Sanders gets the job back than Dameon Pierce gets the job back. So I'll say that much.
Okay.
I am okay. I don't think Devin Singletary in 1 week just all of a sudden took over this backfield and it's now, 60-40 Singletary to Pierce. I don't think that. I think it was just 1 week where Pierce really struggled and Singletary found some running room because he is a good pro who can find space. But it's tough. Pierce Singletary to me is going to be a really interesting watch. I want to see how the snaps break down, how the carries break down, how the touches break down. I don't really want to start either guy. I'm not pumped about it. I think if you had to flex either one, you could. Gun to my head, if I had to pick one, I would pick probably Singletary just because we've seen Dameon Pierce be ineffective now for a little while. And it's just, at least Singletary, there's some hope of a big play, some hope of a spark. I just don't know if there even is that hope anymore with Dameon Pierce. You're always just hoping for volume. And now I don't know if volume is really in play anymore because they're not giving it to him. Sanders and Chuba are a similar but different story where I think they're both pretty good. And it's more just what does the coaching staff want to do, because Sanders hasn't looked great, but he is still in my mind, still a legit NFL talent. And Chuba Hubbard is done really well with the opportunity they've given him. So it's hard to take that guy off the field when he's done everything you've asked. This is going to come down to, what are the coaches, and it's crazy to say this, but like, what do the coaches feel like? What do the coaches want to do? And none of us are in these locker rooms. We can't ever know. I think it'll probably be this week close to 50-50. If anything, it might lean a little towards Chuba this week. But then rest of season, Sanders will kind of ramp back up into his typical, 70-30 split.
I like the breakdown. I like that. We have a question from Fab. Should I trade Devonta Smith for Zay Flowers? I have A.J. Brown. So would you rather have the stack of both Eagles, or would you rather get off from Smith and not have that, not stack, but the two wide receivers for Zay Flowers? So
I would. Yeah, I would.
Don't want to have both because we haven't seen either one of them perform together at the same time.
Yeah, no, I would. So that's the thing. You're when you have plays like this, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, you're just limiting your upside for your team every week because both guys can't have a good game. I mean they could, but it's rare that like Devonta Smith and AJ Brown would both go off for 30 points. But there is a chance you could have an AJ Brown day and a Zay Flowers day. I mean, that could easily happen. So I would do that trade.
Yeah. All right. So my thoughts on this here, I think you have to at least continue to go back. So I'm more confident that Pierce will still have majority of the role of the Texans there. I think they will give him another opportunity off the bye, the things they've worked out to give him a chance. I think Singletary will have a more impactful role than he's had in the past, but it's still going to be Pierce. And I think Pierce is a decent enough flex play that you can take that risk in a really good matchup. Sanders and Chuba, I think you're right. I think it's a little bit more 50-50, at least this week here. And we'll see kind of the hot hand approach, I think, with this backfield moving forward, because they're not thrilled. I don't think they're thrilled with what Sanders has given them. And I think Chuba's done enough, but not enough to take over completely yet. So it's going to be more of a hot hand approach, I think, with this Panthers backfield. Over the next game here, the Browns and Seahawks. Do we start JSN after a nice game last week, but no, DK Metcalf? Again, are you trusting him, or are you not really, or you're still like waiting him to do it with everyone healthy?
So, I mean, my gut and my mind and my heart, it wants me to believe that JSN is about to really break out and be amazing, because we all expect it to happen. We're all kind of waiting for it. But I just, like I've said previously in other shows, I just don't know if there's room for that with Lockett and Metcalf on the field. Now, if either one of them misses time, like we just saw, then yeah, absolutely, you start JSN. Like, that's great. It looks like Metcalf is back.
Yeah, he's playing this week.
There was some injury reports on Lockett, but I'm assuming he's going to be okay. So you're kind of falling back into this really risky, 3-4 target kind of game, and it's just tough. It's just really hard, because you could have 3 or 4 targets and, so you're 3 or 4 receptions.
Sounds like you're not starting him this week.
36 yards. Yeah, I'm probably not. If they're both starting, I'm probably not starting them.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. That's how I feel too. If they're both playing in this game, JSN is not a start.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Yeah. I think the only real starts I really feel comfortable with are Ken Walker and Kareem Hunt. They're the only ones I'm considering, and Ken Walker's banged up. I'm sitting both quarterbacks. I don't think Geno's impressed me at all this year. PJ Walker's a nice guy, but I don't trust them. I'm not trusting the Noah Fant tight ends. David Njoku, no, I don't really like what he's doing this year. Do you consider Pierre Strong a play, or is it not that type of week for him?
Not that type of week. Pierre Strong is good. He's going to get work, obviously, now that Jerome Ford's definitely out, but still against the Seattle in what should be a pretty low-scoring game, I'm okay.
Rank the 3 wide receivers, Metcalf, Lockett, and a Cooper for this matchup.
I would probably rank it Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett.
That's exactly how I would rank it as well. I like it. If Ken Walker doesn't go, it might be Zach Charbonnet, but we don't know if Zach Charbonnet is playing either. Mm-hmm. So it would be a DJ Dallas. So keep that in mind through the next few days. If you're looking for RB help, it might be DJ Dallas starting this weekend, which isn't great, but everyone has RB problems, whether or not you like it or not. Everyone has an RB problem, but it's just a name to throw out there. So
yep, absolutely.
All right, next one. We have a rematch of the Chiefs and the Broncos. Is Rishi Rice a start in this game?
Yes. Yes, I think he is.
He's proven enough to you that he's a start in this game.
Yes, I think he is. He has shown throughout this year that every time he's on the field, or anytime they're in the red zone, he's a threat to score. He's just got this weird knack for the end zone right now, and what a better team to be on than the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, I'm totally fine starting Rashee Rice this week.
Yeah, I am as well. He's seen at least 60 yards in back-to-back games now. Over 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's a fine flex play. He's okay. Mm-hmm. I trust him enough in a really good matchup to start him this week. Yep. You obviously start Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco. Cortland Sutton has done enough for me that he is fine to start. Not starting Jerry Jeudy. Don't want to start Russell Wilson. Adam Trotman, no. What about the Broncos RBs? Are you starting like a Javonte Williams? I don't really think at this point like a Jalen McLaughlin is worth a start here. Definitely not a Samasi P. Ryan, but is it Javonte Williams a good enough play for you?
Not this week against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense is strong up front. I think they're going to give the Denver Broncos the fits. So I'm again, we just brought up DJ Dallas. Like, if you're going to go that far, I'd rather play Javonte Williams over that. But no, in all things considered equal, I would not be trying to start Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I mean, were you starting him over like the Packers and Vikings players, like the Madison?
I would actually probably play the Packers running backs ahead of him.
Oh wow, okay.
I probably would.
I would play him over those guys. That's interesting.
Really?
Yes.
I don't see a world where the Denver Broncos could legitimately get shut out in this game. Like, I don't see a world where
they're at home, so I give them a little bit more credit. But yeah, I get what you're saying though.
I mean, if they score more than 10 points, I'll be pretty shocked.
Okay, I can't wait to see your face then. Maybe
I'm wrong often.
No, me too. Baltimore Ravens, Arizona Cardinals. Do we start Imari DiMercado?
Sure. Yes, I think you can. I think, 16 touches last week means you can start him.
Yeah, he's a fine option, I think. Again, he's in that tier with a lot of these other running backs because the Ravens are decent at running backs this year. So again, if you pick them off all waivers and you're looking for running back help, he's a decent play. As long as he keeps in getting the work. I hope they don't make a switch again and it's Keontae Ingram this week now. And then DeMarcado gets like one touch. I will be furious with life this year. But they need something. And the way that this Raven secondary is, it's pretty tough to play again. So they need to have somebody step up, and it could be him. Good starts. Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown's good enough to play. Joshua Dobbs, really bad the last few weeks now. I'm kind of putting him back in the sit column. He was doing pretty well, but not right now against a tough team. Michael Wilson, no. Trey McBride has the backfield to himself, but it's not a great matchup for tight ends this week, unfortunately. Is Justice Hill anywhere, or is it not there?
No, probably not.
Okay, yeah. I only bring it up because the Cardinals are so bad, and maybe they want to run the ball.
He's close. He's close. He's like right on the edge there where,
Better probably in deeper man leagues.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. All right, next game. Bengals 49ers. Are we firing up T. Higgins? He should hopefully be decently healthy. Off a bye. He's practicing.
Yeah.
Put him in your starting lineup.
I mean, I think it's hard to sit T. Higgins, right? Like you drafted him to use him, and now he's finally healthy. He's off a bye. He's back in the lineup, and Joe Burrow has looked much more competent the past couple weeks, and now he has the bye to kind of figure out whatever else he needs to figure out. So I think you can start him, but I'm not doing it with supreme confidence against these 49ers.
No, neither am I. I think unless you don't have another reliable option in your lineup, Higgins is going in my flex, and I am going to just hope for the best because that's what he is. He's a talent, but he is a boom or bust kind of player, and you have to go with the goods and the bads here. And we saw that the 49ers defense can kind of be beat a little bit. So hopefully that the Bengals can figure out to do something with T. Higgins too. But again, risky play, but the talent is there. You have to go for it unless you have a better option. Yep. Jamar Chase, you start him. I think Joe Mixon is a good enough play to obviously start him. Yep. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, CMC, obviously. You sit in Irv Smith, Tyler Boyd. Jawan Jennings, not really thrilled to want to play him at all. Joe Burrow is fine. I don't think it's great. What about... Obviously, Brock Purdy is probably not playing in here, and I didn't mention that in the news. But how do you feel about Sam Darnold and a 2 QB league?
Oh, in a 2 QB league, yeah.
Yes, of course.
In a 2 QB league for sure. Yeah, I'm willing to put him in there. I think Kyle Shanahan has proven time and time again that he's a good enough coach to get points out of anybody. So, I'm willing to. Again, it is 2 quarterback format, and you're not expecting a 25-30 point game out of him, but yeah, he absolutely can be picked up off the waiver wire and plugged into your QB2 slot.
Yeah, I think he can give you like 17 fantasy points in this game here. It is not the easiest, but we've seen that the 49ers, doesn't matter who the matchup is, they can produce enough for us in fantasy. I don't really have too many concerns with the offense if Sam Darnold plays. Like, I don't think it's low as any of these guys' value. I think they'll be fine. Sam Darnold actually is, over the times I've watched Brock and Sam play, Sam has looked like the better passer. He hasn't doing it often, but he has looked at times as a better overall passer than what Brock Purdy has shown us, at least this year. So
I'm convinced, and I'm just a sucker for Kyle Shanahan. I love his scheme. I love him as a coach. Right. I'm convinced that you could put anybody back there and that team would look just fine. That team would look awesome. So it's just, I was joking around the other day with some of my buddies because remember the rumors that they were going to take Mac Jones at 3. And that was, and I said, what would be crazy is if they did take Mac Jones at 3, he would probably look unbelievable at this point. He would probably look awesome.
No, they didn't do that. They would have traded him.
So, I just think, I think Sam Darnold can plug in there and go for, 220 and 2, no problem. Yeah. 240 and 2.
We have a question in chat from Cabo. What's up, fellas? Rashad White tonight or Alexander Madison, full point PPR?
I'm Rashad White.
Rashad White, 100%.
I'm Rashad White.
he gets the passing volume, and he's got a good running matchup, so I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, over to the next game, the Sunday Night Football, Bears Chargers. Is Foreman a good play, even with Rashawn Johnson coming back?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Again, both of the. I mean, we're all realizing this as we go through every game. Every team is using this sort of tandem backfield nowadays.
Yes.
And I think Foreman and Johnson are the same sort of thing. I think they're both kind of tough lower end running backs. Foreman looked awesome last week. I don't know how you could possibly, as a coaching staff, take him off the field for a rookie that's returning from injury. So I think it is going to be a lot of Foreman with Johnson sort of getting back to speed, and then going forward next week, week after that, you'll see more and more Johnson, getting in there. But this week, I think you can absolutely play Foreman.
That's how I feel too. I feel like he takes over what Khalil Herbert was doing prior to him going out. Johnston gets his role, and he works in and gets, like you said, gets more work as the time goes on until Khalil Herbert comes back and it's a 3-man committee again.
No, then it's
terrible. Yes. Some starts, obviously, Justin Herbert. You go back to Austin Eckler. I don't care. You have to go back to him. Yeah. Keenan Allen, Joshua Palmer's honestly, he's a start now to me. He's looking really good. DJ Moore is a good enough start. Not really trying to start Darnell Mooney in this matchup here. Tyson Baggett is probably only I feel like this is a trap game for him because I feel like people have some film on him now. I feel like this is like the Aiden O'Connell like 3 weeks ago where the Chargers had 10 sacks. Like I could see that happening with here, but he's an interesting sleeper QB2. Mm-hmm. Cole Kmet, is Cole Kmet starting over Logan Thomas?
Yeah, probably. All
right. Jared Albert's in the injury report, but he's an okay play. But not thrilled to want to play him either. I maybe would consider Logan Thomas over him too. So,
mm-hmm.
All right. And a Monday Night Football game, Raiders, Lions in Detroit. I think they said it's been like almost 20 years since the Detroit Lions had a Monday Night Football game at home.
Really?
In Detroit, I think.
Oh, okay. That's
in Detroit, not the Lions themselves, but
yeah,
playing at home.
Right. Yeah, but that's still
are we trying Micah Mayer again? Didn't have a great game last week compared to the week before, but are we going back to him in tight ends?
Rumor has it that Jimmy G could play this week. If he does, I'm willing to dip my toe into Michael Mayer again.
Yes, I agree with you. As long as Jimmy G plays, Michael Mayer is definitely worth some kind of interesting play. But if there's no Jimmy G, I don't really have the same trust level. It seems like Jimmy G seemed to like him at one point before he went out. So
agreed.
For starts in this game, it's pretty much almost everyone. Jared Goff, the Lions RBs, Amon St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Josh Jacobs, all worthy starts. Even though Josh Jacobs does have a really tough matchup, I still want to play him. Sure. Jamison Williams, I'm not starting him. But you said something about wanting to play him before, so
I think you can. I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. He saw
should you?
Should you is a great question.
But should you play him?
No, but I'm again, like, I'm not trying my best to get him in my lineups. But when we talk about these flex level players, I'm trying to think of some like, AJ Dillon, right? Like some of these flex level guys that you consider. In my mind, at least Jamison Williams provides some level of upside. Like there's a chance that Jamison Williams could hit a bomb touchdown. There's no chance a guy like AJ Dillon's going to rip off a 70-yard touchdown run.
I respect it.
So that's kind of my mindset. And depending on it's all about the rest of your lineup and roster construction. But the way I build my lineups, I usually try and use my flex slot for a guy like a Jamison Williams. He saw 6 targets last week. He didn't do anything with them, but that's a good sign that they're going to at least give him a chance. If you were going to promise me 6 targets to Jamison Williams every week, I would probably be starting him almost every week.
Even if he goes 0-6 every week?
Yeah, the offer kind of stunk.
He dropped so many balls in that game. Very upsetting.
It's so bad.
He's looking like a bust. We'll find out.
It absolutely could be. And we'll find out, obviously, through the rest of this, the next couple weeks here. But Las Vegas Raiders are not a super scary defense, and I think Jamison Williams absolutely can and may have a big play.
All right, I respect it. And then of course Jimmy G is a decent QB2 in Superflex League, so that's really it with that. So all right, well we got through all the games in a good amount of time here. I love to see that.
Yeah, dang, we flew through that. Let's go. Let's go, boy.
John, anything you want to mention before we get going tonight?
I don't. I just want to thank everybody who's been tuning in. I feel like the show has really picked up some momentum the past couple weeks, and it's great. I love it. This is, me and Steve and Jibs. We do this because we love fantasy football. We love hanging out with each other and talking ball. And it's nice that people are starting to listen in and hang out with us too. So hit that subscribe button. Mondays and Thursdays, 5:30. Let's have some fun. Let's win some championships.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. You guys, if you guys are newer to our show, you haven't met Coach Jibs left because Coach Jibs has been gone for a while, but he will be back next week. So we're looking.
If you think we're funny, wait till Jibs comes back. He's a riot. He's my favorite.
Yes, he is. But again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Whether you're listening live on our YouTube channel, we do appreciate all the new subscribers we've been getting. We love it. Or if you're listening afterwards on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, we really do appreciate it. If you give us a review, that was even better. And of course, check out the new Parlay Play, the new betting site that I'm partnered up with here now, guys. If you use the promo code Coach Steve, you get a deposit match up to $100 and $5 for free. You can't beat $5 for free, and maybe win some big money. So tune in for that too. And of course, thank you all for listening again. We do really appreciate it. We love doing this. We're having so much fun every single year we do this. The seasons are going crazy. And next week, we'll have our 300th episode. So we're looking forward to that. Maybe we'll do something fun for that show, guys, next Thursday. But until then, guys, we appreciate you all for tuning in. Enjoy your week 8. Hopefully, you guys can get some wins. And we will talk to you all on Monday.
Back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of Clark Kents. I've been feeling super duper.